Other names in this division include McJoe Arroyo. Look at other belt holders. Carlos Cuadras. Here we are.
And again, Kono there in the green, the champ. He said he wants to make this a fight early, but immediately Kameda slings a shot right down the pipe and connects with Kono, stumbling him back a bit. Nice body shot from Kameda, too.
He's the lefty, so Kono have that option of the right-hand lead, double left hook.
And Kono pointed that out. He said that Kameda does a great job using that southpaw stance. Even there you see a short little hook right to the chin of Kono. Does a great job using that southpaw stance to confuse and bewilder his opponents. Not saying that's going to happen here, but Kono definitely recognized that as one of the attributes that Kameda had coming into this, being an intelligent fighter and using that southpaw stance to his advantage.
And Kono trying to get through that right-hand guard and try to key off of something by Kameda. Crowd pretty lively here.
Crowd actually had a little theme song going. They're straight up singing for Kameda. Now, Japanese a little rusty, but I'll tell you what, they're out in force tonight supporting their boy, and he's looking good so far. You know, Kono is covering up a lot. He's trying to get out of the way, but not able to mount any significant offense just yet, Dave.
Kameda on the outside, setting the pace with his jab. Kono trying to position himself for the right-hand lead, but the intelligence he referred to with Kameda showing itself as Kameda not there for that shot.
Yeah, and that's something really important that you just noted, is that Kono's throwing punches, and by the time they actually get fired off, Kameda's already gone. You know, Kameda's very quick, excellent footwork, excellent movement, and he's just bobbing and weaving out of the way of those punches right now. So Kono's got to figure out a way to actually land some of those shots, and a lot of that has to do with setting him up more as opposed to just kind of lazily throwing him out there. Even with punches that he's just using for setup, put some intent behind him. Pop him out there. Don't just throw one at a time. Throw multiple punches, try to confuse and bewilder his opponent, as opposed to letting Kameda completely dictate the pace of the fight.
And it is Kameda who has been the more comfortable of the two fighters, and it is Kono now trying to make him uncomfortable in the final stages of the opening round. But Koki Kameda doing a nice job on the outside in the opener.
Nice shot there at the bell from Kameda. One round in the books for him on my unofficial scorecard. Nice job.
It's going to be a lot about positioning and execution. The X's and O's, so to speak, mean a lot in this kind of a fight. Second round action. Kono and Kameda.
Again, Kono in the green trunks, he said that he had to be aggressive in round number one, especially the early rounds, so that way he set the pace, because he knew if it went to the judges' scorecards that Kameda is very good at winning those style of fights. However, round number one did not go the way that he wanted. He was not able to get aggressive enough because he wasn't able to pin his opponent down, and I actually attribute that to Kameda's excellent footwork, just vanishing. Nice shot there from Kono. That right hand landed, and he's starting to dot him up a little bit right now. He's doing much better here in the second round than he did in the first round by throwing. And you see, he's getting aggressive. He wants to press forward because he's starting to sense that he's having success. And again, those shots are landing. So excellent opening to round number 2 for Kono.
He did his studying throughout round 1, finding his range, see what would work for him, where he was going to be best set up. And then in this round, we're seeing a lot more instinct from Kono.
Yeah, instinct and intent, too. So maybe you're right. He was feeling him out in the first round. But here in the second round, all guns a-blazing. He is coming out very aggressive, and I like that style. This is the style that he talked about fighting going into it. Another right hand lands right to the forehead of Kameda there from Kono.
Now, the smaller fighters often give you excellent action.
Ooh.
Can't remember the last time we said we saw a bad 115-pound fight.
Yeah,
these guys go
are
at it.
Getting after it right now here in round number 2. Kono taking every opportunity to load up a punch and fire it at Kameda. That hesitation from round number 1 is gone.
Well, you're the champion. You come in, and you've got to assert yourself that way. So Kono's trying to do that as this turns into an inside battle. The referee will try to tell them how much they can go. It's Kono gets the hard warning after Kameda threw the shot.
Yeah, interesting, though. I mean, the ref was telling Kono to stop, and he continued to hold. So I imagine that's why the referee handed down that warning. But the real story here is that Kono is just like a bulldog right now, like a pit bull. He's just going after him, but Kameda's the one that... Kono's saying that he got a low blow there.
No knockdown, of course. But you still have to get up.
Referee having a hard time controlling this fight right now. But as you see, he's telling him he has 5 minutes to recuperate a low blow like that. You do get 5 minutes in order to recover. Fighters rarely take the entire 5 minutes, but whether or not he does, we'll see. Interesting that the referee didn't move him out of his corner. Normally they'll move him to a neutral corner so he can't get instructions from his corner, but right now he's left him in his corner and he's actually talking to his guys right now.
They're watching films from previous fights.
It's amazing that he moved to a neutral corner during that rest period.
Big shot!
Big shot!
What an adjustment.
Wow.
From a low blow to the knockdown position.
Oh, man, these guys are ready to go.
He showed vulnerability. You talk about bouncing out of that. Well, what an end to this round.
What a crazy second round, Dave.
That's a shame the bell ends there.
It really is. I mean, the referee called time there during the recuperation after the low blow, but still, that round was just a lot of fun to watch, even despite all of the yanking and the pulling and the holding. Just a good round overall for Kono. He came out and said he wanted to get aggressive in the fight, as I mentioned, and round number 2 played very, very well into his favor. I think he did exactly what he wanted to do. There's that low blow again. That's what gave Kono a bit of time.
And there were 2 of them, as we get to see now.
There's the other one, yeah. It almost looked intentional. Don't want to say that it was, but almost looked that way. But you see Kono there with that straight right hand right down the pipe, sits Kameda down.
Now you're talking about getting instructions from the corner as he was on his knees. He may have parlayed something they told him in that little break.
Entirely possible, which is why they normally put him in a neutral corner when they're recuperating after a low blow like that. But I think that Kono was very successful in getting Kameda out of his rhythm that he was in round number 1. Again, good job by Kono there in the second round to confuse Kameda and turn the tables a bit.
Kono coming in as the champ. He's 38 and 113 knockouts. And these guys are not big knockout artists, but he dropped Kameda with a hard right hand in the second round. They open it up again.
Nice combination from Kono. We were talking about round number 1, sort of pawing out there with one punch at a time. Now he's doing a great job loading up combinations.
Now here's something they'll have to be wary of.
Oh, this is big.
Referee maybe over-refereeing it here. He's already taken a point now from Kameda. Now he does have to establish control of the fight back, but he gave Kono a hard warning and took a point from Kameda without a hard warning.
Yeah, so basically the low blow that happened there in round number 2, the referee warned Kameda about that, and then he saw another shot that was below the belt, so he took that point. I thought it was a very quick taking of the point. I actually didn't see the flagrant foul in real time. I'll be interested to see that in replay because it happened so quickly that the low blow must have been just something that the referee saw, and he instantly took the point. Like you said, Dave, may have been a touch of over-reffing there, but that lost point for Kameda could be a really big deal in a fight like this.
And after the knockdown in round 2, so it continues to plummet down for him. So you got the righty-lefty angle, you've got the low blows. They're both trying to referee. The referee's telling the guys to shut up. It's like some...
I'm curious what they're saying in the ring that the referee is so adamant to stop the fight to tell him to shut up.
This is some old school discipline being handed down in that ring.
It's just a good, tough fight. I like it. I don't care if they're talking smack. They're fighting. Let them.
And how do they know that you said shut up, Japanese fighters? How much of the English do they really have? Understand you?
All right, this ref is just, it's too much for him. What is he doing? He's taking another point for a low blow. Do you even see that in real time?
That's 2 points, and that is huge.
I mean, those shots may be hitting on the belt, but it's not like he's throwing more groin strikes, at least not that I'm seeing.
And that's
2 points.
2 knockdowns, essentially.
Wow.
Now, if you're in the corner of Kameda, you've got to be trying to lobby that ref between rounds and get one of those calls back. So, for Kono, it's a huge round 3, most likely a 10-7.
Another fun round of action. Too much reffing here, but let's see what happened with this low blow. So, I mean, the body's blocking it right there. Maybe there's a shot right there that you're seeing the white glove. Nice job by our replay guys getting in close, and that hand looks like it's coming back though. So his body was blocking it when that shot was actually landed. Maybe we can see it better from another angle. Okay, yeah, I mean that is below the belt technically, but I mean you know his hands are tied up. They're I don't know. I mean it's a foul. I just don't see it as a flagrant foul where you're taking 2 points in a single round. I know the referee is trying to make a statement, but again, sometimes you can just push it too far, and when you're dropping points off of rounds like this, it's going to make a huge difference potentially in the outcome of this fight. So I don't like it. I think he's over-reffing.
Usually what you see is after you've lost a point, you get a little slack on the next call. Now that is...
No, that's a low blow. The ref is right.
Go into the 4th round of what's been a highly contentious inside battle. Kono and Kameda. Dave Bontempo and Dave Farah with you in Chicago on Premier Boxing Champions. Now, what complicates things for Kameda is that the trunks of Kono are a little high.
It's an excellent observation, Dave. Anytime that a fighter's trunk starts to ride up during the fight, all of a sudden, especially if the ref is hyper-focused on it like this ref appears to be, on low blows, that can create a real problem for a fighter and basically change the way that they're fighting because they'll be afraid to throw body shots because they're worried they're going to lose another point. And anytime you even have a moment of hesitation in your fight game and you're starting to change your style of fighting because you're worried about being penalized, that can really also change the outcome of a fight.
When the referees impact the style, and the referees in boxing are like umpires and officials in other sports. A lot of times you scout them, you look at their fights, and what are this guy's tendencies, what does he allow? Does he allow inside fighting? Is he quick to take points? Now you see those trunks from Kono, they're up there, and so what might have been on the border now landing in the sweet spot, and the referee calling that.
Listen to me, box.
I feel like the ref is really in Kameda's head right now. And even right there, like that punch from Kono sunk low and the referee didn't even question it. I feel like the referee is definitely impacting the way that Kameda is fighting this fight.
That's true. You've already gotten 2 points taken away.
Another one from Kono right there on the belt, and it slid below after impact. I'm not saying that Kono is intentionally throwing low blows. I'm saying the referee is totally ignoring it when Kono is doing it, but Kameda gets called every single time on it.
And an interesting point to note when they're taking these shots, the shot right above where the trunks are is an excellent place to land. So you're looking for that, and if you're a little bit off, then you could be in trouble. But if you're Kameda, you have to worry about the next one maybe even resulting in disqualification, not just another point being taken from you. And now if you're Kono, hey, there's a certain spot you think you may never get hit in. He can't go there.
And up to this point, round number 4 has been our first full round where there's been real rhythm and real fight established between these two because the referee hasn't constantly stepped in. So interesting that we're almost getting to the halfway point of this fight, and just now these guys are starting to really be able to open up and let it fly. Good 4th round, though. And look at how high those shorts are. You can only really clearly see, well, we can't see much right now, but you can only really clearly see 2 abs on Kono because his trunks are so high, whereas on Kameda you can see a full 4 abs, which I think is a pretty good way of telling whether or not the trunks are riding up too high on the boxer or not. If you can see a nice full 4 ab muscles on the fighter, they're pretty much at the right point, which on Kameda they are, even though he's sitting down right now. On Kono, on the other hand, those things are really cranked up there, aren't they, Dave?
They are, and the referee did not make a determination before the fight that when they met in the middle, these trunks are high. You usually see that, but no designation made there. So Kameda has a real uphill battle. He's been dropped once and had 2 points taken away. So this is when his composure will be tested, and if you're Kono, you couldn't have asked for a better start to this fight as we start round 5, 115-pound division.
Again, Kono saying this is the biggest moment of his career, being on a stage like this, showcasing his skills in Chicago in front of a global audience. He knows this is a big moment for him, and he is doing everything in his power. You know, even if it is hiking up those shorts a little bit, he knew he had to kind of pull some moves in order to get this fight to where he wanted it to be, especially if he was going to go for the full 12 rounds. So he's trying everything in his power, and frankly, he's getting a little bit of help from the referee right now, which he obviously doesn't have control over, but it's certainly working in his favor. So even though he said Kameda is a smarter, more intelligent fighter coming into it, Kono is finding a way to win this fight right now.
Getting inside, doing some good work to the body. Now we noticed that there was no big edge and reach, and neither guy is viewed as a power puncher. So they should both be brave, and they are.
And Kameda's doing a nice job of keeping his forehead down, keeping his hands up, and he's adjusted. So as opposed to throwing just straight body shots, he's now throwing more uppercuts. And while that's okay, I still believe that that's directly because of what the referee has done by taking away 2 points in those earlier rounds. But the referee has slowed down a little bit on actually breaking the action every time he sees something that appears to be a low blow. He is letting more slide at this point, which I can appreciate.
And these guys are generating a nice pace all their own. And as you take a closer look, you see again the importance of those calls, because for Kameda, those body shots are a huge part of his attack, right?
Absolutely.
At the belt line.
And you'll notice he's all but eliminated those shots. They're almost completely gone right now. And he's much less effective because of that.
He's shooting at a smaller area. Kono can defend a smaller area. But you do sense that at some point, Kono will reach back, find some of his pedigree, try to go after it. You know, talk about the opportunity for Kono. all the divisions, all the champions, there's a ton of fighters, and to emerge out of that mass, you get a few chances, and this is one.
Step back, let go.
So Kameda putting on good pressure and a good hard shot at the end of round 5.
Let him go. Hey, last warning, stop grabbing like that.
So through 5, Dave, I've got it very close. I've got 3 rounds for Kono. I've got 2 rounds for Kameda. I actually scored that last round for Kameda as well as the first round. So this is still a very close fight. But really what's going to make it very interesting is the lost points.
And there are 3 of those lost points affecting Kameda. Knockdown, and then the 2 points for the deductions.
Yeah, so that is going to be a huge factor. Kameda has got to figure out a way to overcome it. And what I don't like to see is that even though you see that he's pressing forward, he's been landing some nice shots, I think that his repertoire has been limited by where he feels he can throw on the body. And that's also changing his footwork. So as opposed to stepping side to side to try to set up those body shots, it's much more straight front and back. And that's problematic because as a result, Kameda is just absorbing a lot more punishment. Previously, when he was throwing a lot of body shots, he was stepping side to side. Kono was missing the shots that he was throwing. Now, Kono having a lot better connect rate, and Kameda is just waiting there to eat those punches every single time that Kono fires one off.
If you want to measure the impact of those points that Kameda lost, if your scorecard is how the judges are seeing it in rounds, that's 1 point. Now these points add up, and it's 4. If he's losing by 4 points, and he's trying to win a title, a draw, he wouldn't win the title. Kameda has to win 6 of the next 7 rounds to do that. He's already in I must sweep the table mode halfway through.
It's a tough position to be in, but I did feel in that last round that he had enough to swing things in his favor. It appears here, even in the 6th round, that he's got a nice rhythm going, but he's got to keep his foot on the gas.
Good action by both, and here is Kono, who's had his last warning, coming in. Kono trying to open up, and you do get the sense it's entirely possible that Kono could lose a point at somewhere in this contest if he's finally been warned. So if you're committed, you've got to try to do something to coax a point deduction. It's a good pace on the inside. Anybody for a jab? These guys don't need it to get inside. And there was,
look at that! Wow! Now Kameda complaining about a low blow, and the referee just tells him to fight right through it.
We're just talking about how he had to try to coax the point. If he got that call right then, that would have been the point. Referee said no sale. Peter Singh, if we look back on that, the way Kameda was wincing, you thought he had a point.
Don't hold him, don't hold him. Stop. Box.
Tremendous pace of this fight, and they're both winging good shots on the inside.
Pick him up. Sorry. Box.
Wow.
Both of them blatantly after the bell.
See, Kono's complaining there, but you can't complain when you also throw a shot after the bell because of those 2 taken points. And Kono just doing a nice job in some of those rounds, especially rounds 3 and 4, that he has got to do something in order to turn up the heat. So Kameda is working really hard, but Kono at the same time is right there in the pocket, just throwing big punches himself. Now you see Kono there at the end complaining about that shot that came after the bell. Doesn't matter. We move on. It's a non-call. Finally a non-call. And here we go to round number 7.
Second half of the fight. Dave Bontempo and Dave Farah with you at the UIC Pavilion. The Super Flyweight Championship held by Kono in the green trunks. Kameda, the number 2 contender. Will we see at that point now? Or is it just a natural break?
Give him a little break here for him. Yeah.
Referee consulting with the commission, perhaps over his latitude in calls.
Come here, guys. Come here.
Going to talk to them.
Come here. Come here. Hey. Next one, fight's over. Okay? Keep it clean, okay? Keep it clean, okay? Clean.
That's way too punitive at this stage of the fight. He didn't actually say the next what.
Yeah, the next what, and then the fight's over. And a serious question, how good is their English? Like, do they understand what the referee is saying? Obviously, when he says stop, it's not lost in translation there, but I mean...
Watch your head.
Well, Kono said sorry after being warned once, and maybe he understood, but you can't assume.
No, but I mean, I speak great English and I don't understand what he's saying. The next what, and then the fight's over. The next low blow that Kameda throws, the next low blow just period? Like,
either guy.
Yeah.
Next foul?
The next, what is it? The next accidental headbutt? Like, that's... Oh, I hate it.
And the problem is, this is a terrific fight on the inside.
It's a
These
great
guys
fight.
are going after
Love
it.
this fight.
And now you're in the fight saying, what can I do? Do I have to hold back?
Kono really opening up right now. What a...
Other head, bud.
So, a bizarre refereeing scenario. And sometimes you see a lot of this in the amateur levels, but the guys don't carry it over into the pros. But we are seeing an overly punitive example of refereeing.
And again, it really seems like the referee is picking on Kameda here. Every single time that there's a really stern warning, it seems to be going the way of Kameda. And Kono's doing a nice job of capitalizing on that. Every single time that Kameda gets scolded, we see Kono coming right back in, lighting him up with a nice combination. No exception here. Kono once again hyper-aggressive after a harsh warning to Kameda from the ref.
And what the referee has not taken into account with all these warnings is how these guys are using the inside as a strategy, which he's now taken away. Meantime, all that being said, Kono enjoying a very nice round. And Kameda starting to puff up, and it's like a little blood coming out of the side. Just a nick of his right eye.
Great action here as we close out round number 7. Really enjoyed that round. See, what I don't like, Dave, is that the referee has made himself the story in an otherwise great fight that is very closely matched. And the referee, we know, is affecting the potential outcome of this fight by taking away points. Now, after we saw it in slow motion, the referee was correct. Those were low blows. Were they intentional low blows that warranted a point being taken away? We'll leave that to someone else. I just don't like that the referee has interjected himself so much into this fight that everyone's just kind of waiting to see what he does instead of waiting to see what the fighters do.
Absolutely. And what the idea of calling it both ways, if he's taken 2 from Kameda here, he could have taken 1 from Kono by now based on that standard that he's using.
But otherwise, when he just lets him fight, It's a great fight, so let him fight, man. Here we go, 8th round.
It is a terrific fight. Into 8th round with Kono. 30 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw. Defending his 115-pound championship. Koki Kameto, he is 2nd-ranked contender.
Turn around.
And
yeah, Kono doing a really nice job of being first to the punch there. His combinations are landing because of it. He really seems to be making a point of throwing the first punch every single time that they get into range, and it's working to his advantage.
We joked earlier about when would we see a jab. Well, Kono finding a home for it here, and it's setting up the rest of his attack.
And they're great attacks, too. They're deliberate, they're landing. Of course, a lot of the shots are checked, but at the same time, he's throwing so many punches that a fair amount are sneaking through. So Kono staying busy. He said he knew that he had to make this a fight, and stamina was one of his biggest attributes, and that comes from all of the long hours that he puts in the gym. Here we are in the 8th round, and Kono looks better than he did in round number 1.
Really settling into a groove, and no mystery. Stay outside, attack. Go back outside, attack again. And if you're Kameda, most likely you need some late magic.
Dave, I think you said something really important earlier about how popular Kameda is over in Japan. How when he fights over there, 50% of the country is tuning in to watch him fight. If you can imagine the sort of things that a fighter with that level of popularity gets away with when they're fighting in Japan. And Kameda was the one that said this is one of the hardest times of his career because right now, because of some legal issue, he can't get licensed to fight in Japan, so he's forced to fight outside of his home country. That really changes the dynamic of how a fighter competes, because you can get away with a lot when you're fighting in front of your hometown crowd, and the referee even has a respect and appreciation for how popular you are.
It's true that there are home field advantages and there are huge home field advantages, and he has enjoyed his in Japan.
And we talked about how difficult it is for Kameda to be going through this, where he's forced to fight outside of Japan, and now he's in a situation like this where he's getting multiple points taken away. That's the sort of thing that can really weigh on a fighter mentally after the contest, yes, but even during the bout as well.
You've seen him hit a few potholes in this fight and try to recapture his emotions and do well. In the meantime, Kono really fighting extremely well.
Love Stitch. So the way that I scored that, I gave that round to Kono as well. I thought he was much busier, much more effective. You saw Kameda kind of pump his fist in the air after that round wrapped up. I think it's at the point in this fight, certainly, that Kameda has got to get a knockout in order to win the fight. He's got to get the finish out there, otherwise he's not going to win. The lost points, Kono just being the busier fighter in a number of these rounds. Even if the judges are looking at it from a different perspective than I am, I think that Kameda has got to go out there and get the finish, even if they're being much more generous is what I'm saying to Kameda. I think that he's got to go out there and get the knockout if he has any hope of winning it at this point.
Into the final rounds we head now. Kono and Kameda in round 9. Now, one part of the storyline was the point deductions, which we've documented against Kameda. But an emerging storyline in recent rounds is Kono really starting to beat him up.
Oh, absolutely. No, Kono is doing a great job. And again, I hate that the referee and what he's done with the taking away of the points has become kind of the title, if you will, of this fight. And then the rest of the story is filled in around it. But really, that's an excellent observation, Dave, that Kono is doing a great job setting up his combinations. He's throwing a lot of punches. He's being first to the punch. And again, that stamina, he's remaining aggressive as this fight goes on. He actually said that he thinks that Kameda is a smarter fighter, as I pointed out.
There's his first point now.
Oh, interesting.
Come here.
Said there was a good chance that he would lose one.
Stop holding him down.
And that's a good decision overall, because within the context of these calls, It's now only
it
a
evens it out a
1-point
little
difference
bit, yes.
between them.
Absolutely. Oh,
and
look at
here
that.
comes Kameda.
Kameda lands a big shot that stumbles Kono back. Doesn't drop him, but close.
Give him a little bit of confidence.
This could be all of a sudden becoming a very different fight.
Watch your head, guys.
We talked earlier with how close the referee was calling this, that there's a good chance that Kono could lose a point too. And now that that's happened, it has energized Kameda.
Yeah, and Kameda's doing a nice job of landing some of those shots, those looping punches that are sneaking through, those hooks over Kameda's jabs. Even though Kameda is throwing some nice jabs and a bunch of shots in volume, Kameda is timing it nicely, and those punches are landing. If he can drop Kono in this round, it would be a huge swing in his favor.
Well, if he can win the round outright to begin with, he'll get a 2-point round. And he's gotten one of those calls back. But still, Kono built up that early lead. And just look at these guys.
Love it.
Exchange on the inside. Everything they have.
Fantastic matchmaking here. Just a great fight. Two gritty fighters, unwilling to back down. I love this match. An excellent 9th round.
Neither guy giving an inch as we come to the end of 9.
See that right there? Kameda landed a nice looping left hand that stumbles Kono back, and he almost lost his footing, but didn't. The big story there is that Kameda had one of his points given back because Kono did lose a point via referee in that round, and I think that Kameda was much more effective with his shots, won that round outright as well, so excellent round there for Kameda. Is it possible that what we thought, unless he went out there and got the finish, he was going to lose the fight, that the tides could actually be turning in his favor? I mean, stranger things have happened. We'll see whether or not this referee takes any more points from either of the fighters as we wear into the final rounds of this fight. But we still have a ball game on our hands, if you will, Dave.
And Dave, but something interesting now. The point gets taken. Remember the warning? Next one.
Next
and the
one,
fight's
over? Guess not, huh?
And thank goodness for those who are here and for us watching and for you at home that that hasn't been the case. And that's a good call with the holding down of the head. And so here we are in round 10.
Stop.
Kono and Kameda set up as an excellent fight and has been waged that way. Good straight left hand by Kameda. Good right hand by Kono.
Pick him up.
There's some of the slack we were talking about, referee giving Kameda just to pick him up. So it's Kono staying outside to box, and Kameda trying to rally on the inside.
Yeah, and Kameda stumbled Kono there, then taunted him a little bit. These guys still have a lot of fight left in them.
And here comes Kono. Each guy
Step back.
looking beleaguered at certain points in this fight. And here comes Kono with a surge.
Stop.
He's going to scold him for holding the head again. Oh, no, just let it slide.
Well, this kind of punch volume. This kind of punch volume. Imagine if these guys were hitters.
Boy, I tell you, they're throwing a lot out there.
Good straight left hand by Kameda. Guys just giving good, gutsy type action on the inside.
Kono with just about 12 punches there. doing a great job of throwing a lot, but just not connecting like he was in some of the earlier rounds. Kameda's doing a better job of moving out of the way and staying covered up.
Good body shot here by Kono. And here comes Kono trying to rally some more. These guys are starting to show some fatigue finally.
Or are they?
Well, he took about 5 seconds where he didn't throw a punch.
Yeah.
Made up for it.
All of a sudden they turn it back on, and as round number 10 comes to a close, they're right there in the center of the ring, and they're slugging it out. Kono just unwilling to back down. You see his footwork there, just does not want to give up an inch, and I love this battle of the footwork because you've got a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter, and so the battle of that front foot is very, very important, and that's something that we're seeing in this fight, especially from Kono. You know, talking about being aggressive throughout the fight. He wants to stay in that lead position. He wants his lead foot to be the one that controls where they're fighting and push Kameda off of that center and make him pivot out, so that way Kono is able to control the pace of the fight, and he's doing a much, much better job as this fight wears on. Ever since that first round where he was getting a little bit too loose, Kono has done a nice job of driving the pace of this fight. But Kameda is still right in it. He's landing some great shots as well. And frankly, I think when it comes to the power shots, Kameda is doing a better job right now.
Here's a look at what he was trying to do on the inside. Get positioning, takes one. And that's just gritty warfare in there.
Both of them are leading with their heads. You're exactly right, Dave. It is gritty.
Take a look at the eyes of Koki Kameda. He has been in a war here with Kono. Round 11 of 12. Dave Bontempo and Dave Farah. Glad you're enjoying this one. My Premier Boxing Champions from Chicago. And Dave, for me, when I see these guys engaged like that, it reminds me of just about all the fights I see with Japanese fighters and then athletes in other sports. The exceptional Japanese work ethic I have seen, not only in boxing, but Ichiro, all the fundamentally sound aspects.
Both of them came into this fight talking about how they had that warrior spirit and a big heart and a lot of stamina from all of the dedication and time that they put in the gym. And neither of them were just overselling their own skills. You absolutely see that here as we're wearing into the middle of the 11th round. Both of these guys are fighting, and they're fighting hard. Neither wants to back down. And both of them are really showing their gamesmanship as well. Landing great punches, throwing big combinations. And again, watch that battle of that lead foot. Neither one wants to give up position. And right there, you see Kameda. He's the one that got his foot inside, and all of a sudden, he started unloading on Kono.
Good, hard, straight left hand by Kameda. Working the body, and you have to have tremendous stamina to set a pace anywhere near this and then sustain it.
Well, just the volume of punches that they're taking and the amount of, whoa. Okay, so the ref's not going to take a point for that, even though he said stop and then Kono pulled him to the ground. That makes sense.
Kameda trying to get that one more call that would even up the deductions. But later in the fights, the referee's far more reluctant to make those calls. The phone booth continues. Phone booth warfare.
Yeah, this fight is the picture-perfect brawl for phone booth fighting. If you want to make a t-shirt that had the words phone booth fighting on it, these guys should be in it, because both of them leading with the heads, fighting for that foot position, and throwing a lot of punches in volume.
Every ounce of energy into every shot. Not only did these guys not take rounds off, they haven't even taken 20 seconds off.
And that's just a testament to great matchmaking, because any time that either one of them starts to scale it back and throttle down a little bit, he's just throwing so many punches in this fight that I think he is going to have an edge on the judges' scorecards, which is exactly what he said that Kameda would have. He said that Kameda is excellent at winning these types of fights, especially if it goes to the judges' scorecards. So Kono is essentially playing Kameda's game by just being hyper-aggressive throughout the entire thing and not letting Kameda control the pace. Very smart fight from Kohei Kono.
Coming-of-age performance for him in terms of his career. 1 round away from a huge victory. Crowd giving these guys a hand. They tap it up. And right where we left off, on cue, I throw 4, you throw 4. Well, these guys just giving everything.
Wow.
Good right hooks by Kameda.
And he doubled up on it too, which is what I love. So he threw one, it landed. Kono stopped for a moment to think about it, and then he threw another one and it landed again.
One complaint you will not hear from either guy after the fight, which we hear in some fights. He ran all night.
Yeah, this is no Mayweather fight.
Guys were right in each other's kitchen the whole time.
Some fighters are marked, and Mayweather's an excellent example of that, as great defensive fighters. I love it when you get matchmaking that puts 2 fantastic offensive fighters against each other, which is exactly what we're seeing in this bout.
And they have moderate knockout records, so neither had to be overly concerned with the power of the other. It was a matter of out-hustling each other, and they both are well aware of the other's reputation.
I mean, there is something to be said when the ref literally has to pull them apart. He tells them to stop and break, and then they each want to throw a shot, even on the break. Just hyper-aggressive throughout all 12 rounds. 75 seconds remaining, and this continues to be a fantastic brawl.
Think of the conditioning and the work you have to do to be able to be doing this in round 12.
It's so rare in any weight class.
All the road work, all the gym work, the sparring, getting up at odd hours, the dieting, all of that being rolled into a commitment to be ready for an event like this.
You're exactly right, and what amazes me is the amount of output along with all of the punishment that they're taking, because that really wears you down throughout the bout. If you're eating a ton of shots like both of these fighters are, normally it starts to take some of the pop out of your punch and it empties your gas tank more. Not the case for these 2 warriors.
Well, we've seen medium power headshots and not the wicked body shots. But these guys have given quite a night's effort from bell to bell, and
what a great
they
fight.
should get some people standing for them.
Yeah, standing ovation. I mean, as well they should. Just what a fantastic fight. Kono did a marvelous job of taking Kameda out of his own game. He said it's a big moment for him. I get that. He's the one that called out Kameda as being the more intelligent fighter, but he said the key to the victory, and I love when a fighter sticks with their game plan, was to be the more aggressive fighter, to be the one that keeps his stamina up and presses the pace throughout the entire bout, and he did exactly that. Kameda did everything in his power to try to turn things in his own favor. I do still think the referee played way too much of a role in this fight, but Kono, I thought, did a brilliant job of keeping his foot on the gas and making it his fight.
And it looks like he can still go some more. Days of the 15-round fights. And he really poured a ton of intensity into this fight. And that's one story. Take a look at that eye. Big factor, a knockdown against Kameda and 1-point differential on referee point deductions. So that's already probably a major 3-point swing in the favor of Kono as they go to the card. Quite a boxing effort from this native fighting out of Tokyo. Tokyo and Osaka meeting in Chicago. Now if you're the fighters, you're thinking, this is taking a little too long.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious about that. It's a good observation, Dave. I mean, normally when there's a clear-cut decision, the judges are pretty quick to turn in their scorecards, and it seems like there's a significant amount of deliberation.
So the paranoia starts to set in. Kono's thinking he's got it. Kameda, tough battle.
Yeah, I mean, you see Kameda there, just some of the points in the fight where they were significant for him, the damage that he was taking, and then also the points that he lost right here. Both fighters stepping right into the center of the ring and mixing it up. Both of them landing some nice, big, meaningful shots throughout it. It just seemed that Kono was the busier fighter throughout the fight. And when you get those power shots, even though Kameda, I thought, was landing more significant power shots, Kono just constantly keeping his foot on the gas, controlling where they were fighting, and never backing down. That was key, I thought, in what should be a victory going his way. But here we go with the official decision.
At ringside, Judge William Lurt sees the fight 115 to 109. Judge Len Feldman scores the fight 116 to 108. Your third and final judge, Robert Hoyle, sees the fight 113 to 111. All for the winner by unanimous decision, and still super flyweight champion, Tough Boy Kono.